Joining me now is a veteran of Invicta FC and FAC in MMA, but last weekend she made her debut in an entirely new sport, Triller Triad Combat. She picked up the first win as an MMA fighter in the competition between MMA fighters and boxers. She was the first woman to compete in Triller Triad Combat. She was the first woman to win in Triller Triad Combat. She was the first person to pick up a finish in Triller Triad Combat. It's Alexa Culp. Alexa, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm good. I'm excited to be here. I'm already back to training, so I'm excited to keep talking about the triad and building the hype. I want to get back in there
Fantastic.
as soon as they let me,
So
I
let's
guess.
just. You good?
I'm good.
All
I'm
right.
good.
I'm good. So let's just jump right into how did you even hear about this and how did the opportunity come about for you? Because at least on the fans' perspective, there was really a quick turnaround between them announcing the event and the sport in general and um, the actual fights starting last weekend.
It was pretty quick for everybody. My manager came up to me and was like, "Hey, there's this thing. It's kind of like bare knuckle, but you're in MMA gloves. Do you want to do it?" And Invicta's kind of been on hold because they've been doing the whole Halle Berry Bruise movie. And so I've been itching to compete. So, yes, was my immediate answer. And then we kind of just figured out the rest as the camp went along. And it was very, very interesting. It was very fast. There's this opportunity. Okay, I took it. Okay, now I'm fighting, which I like that fast paced style. You can't overthink anything.
I'm curious to hear about how the training process went as well. Obviously, I think you said that the gloves that you end up using in the triad was similar to what you normally train with. But how did you prepare for a triangular ring and one that is extremely small for that matter? How did you train for that?
Oh, it was a lot of different ways, but we didn't do anything too crazy. When we just when we drill, we have to drill in like a small compact area anyways. And down please. The only thing that we really did is we started marking out about kind of the measurements because we couldn't really find exact measurements on the triangle. I think they were still trying to figure it out. Uh, and so we would kind of just keep a very small space as small as possible. So once I got in there, it was actually a lot bigger than what I had prepared for. I had prepared for them to put us almost on top of each other and just call go. So it wasn't anything too crazy. I've fought in small cages for MMA before. I like it. I like that style. I like to be right on top of people.
Makes it a lot harder to, you know, not necessarily like run away, but um, I guess footwork and all of that is less of a necessity, and it's more about just crowding and all of that, which is exactly what you did.
Yeah. Uh, the funny thing is that my footwork was like the main thing I just had to dial in just because it's just something I've been working on a lot. It wasn't my strongest thing at all. So my footwork was connecting my feet to my hands was my biggest thing, knowing that I was going to have to cut really tight angles and be able to stay very controlled with how my body's positioned and balanced and all the goods. Uh, but it was fun to kind of have an environment that encouraged us to just control space. It was more about controlling space than it was anything else, which is why as soon as I got there, I cut straight to the middle. Just how I had to be the first one to the middle because there's not space in that triangle for two.
That's right. And then going into fight night, you just looked really comfortable and just at home in front of an entire baseball stadium, in front of, over 20,000 people. Um, how did it feel? From the outside, it looked like you were very comfortable, but obviously you might be feeling different on the inside. You might have been faking it, but I don't suspect you were.
No, first, I don't know how my upbringing did it, but I'm really, really comfortable around a lot of new people. I love to socialize, and I get that I was not socializing with all of those people, but being in a crowd doesn't bother me. And when they brought us out on stage before the fight started, I was kind of worried that it was going to psych me out because I was going to get to see everything, but it did the complete opposite. I looked around and I was like, these are just people. These are just a bunch of people. And it just isn't the focus that night. The focus is what's going on inside the cage or the ring. It's not what's going on outside of it. They can't do anything about what happens on the inside. They can't save me. They can't help me. They can't make it worse for me. They can't do anything but watch. So I don't ever worry about them.
Fair enough. And obviously, the fight itself went about as well as it could go. That was a sub-minute TKO victory. Did you really expect it to end that quickly? Obviously, your plan was to go out and dominate the fight, but did you expect it to go that easily, I guess?
I kind of went into the fight with no expectations about how it was going to go or what she was going to do. I only had expectations for what I needed to do, and that was to stay completely calm and completely in control the whole time. My coaches were very confident, and they expected it to end in the first round. There was a bunch of times thrown out throughout the camp of when it was going to get finished or when it was going to stop or whatever. But I personally had no real focus. I feel like if you get it in your head that I'm going to end it in the first minute, and then you get past the first minute, you're like, well, okay, what's the game plan? Because that didn't work. But I just went in there ready to fight, and that's all I can ever really do.
That makes sense. And then coming out of the fight, obviously, I mentioned all the historical things that happened as a result of your win for you. Um, has there been, obviously, you get a lot of phone calls and texts after every performance that you have, but has there been just sort of an uptick in the amount of followers, the amount of people reaching out to you, and all of that as a result of being on this bigger platform?
There definitely was, and I didn't expect it. Also, because I didn't know how big this was going to be when they brought it. Um, it's been cool. I ended up making a Twitter. I've never had a Twitter before, and I very quickly realized that I'm going to need to get a Twitter. There was a fake Twitter account that actually got made when I was in high school, and one of my friends was like, "Oh my goodness, like everybody's following this account," and it wasn't me. And so I was like, "Oh, okay." So I actually had to grow up and get a Twitter before everyone started following the fake one. And then my Instagram did start shooting up. And I've been lucky enough to kind of have the next, like this whole week, so the following days after it, I had time to keep interacting with people through Instagram, which normally I'm really, really, really bad at, but I'm trying to get a lot better at it because there are a bunch of people who have a lot of cool stuff to say or a lot of cool questions to ask, and I want to socialize with those people.
Just like this, that's how this came about.
Exactly.
So I know that the MMA fighters, both Mike Perry and Frank Mir, both were talking about just how well they were compensated compared to the UFC and all of that. Obviously, you don't have to go into specifics or anything like that, but can you just sort of second that? Like, how well were you compensated for your performance, I guess?
Extremely well. Especially being a female in the sport. That's one thing I've loved about Invicta is that it's been they've always been the ones to kind of set the standards for female MMA and like kind of the respectful pay that should be given as a female fighter. A lot of other promotions will try to like cut it short. But Triller stepped up even more, so I can second that. That was the most I've been compensated and paid for to go out and put my skills on the line. It was nice. It's been very, very helpful.
Congratulations. Yeah, I'm sure that's very helpful. So speaking of Invicta, I'm sure that a lot of not just fans' eyes were on you, but people from these organizations had their eyes on you. Has anyone reached out to you about another opportunity, whether it's Triller or Invicta or any of those organizations?
That same night we were talking about me wanting to get back to Triller whenever they have a show. MMA is still the main goal. That's what I've been training since I was 15 for, so that's going nowhere. I'm hoping to fight for Invicta January 12th. We don't have an opponent yet. I think it's just all in the works. But my personal goal is to get onto that show.
Okay, good. And I think when a couple weeks ago they announced the new season of The Ultimate Fighter that's going to happen in 2022, and if I remember correctly, it was going to be men's heavyweights, which obviously doesn't affect you at all.
Yeah.
But women's flyweights is the other weight class that was going to be featured. So would you consider applying for that and doing a season of The Ultimate Fighter if that opportunity came?
I would consider it whenever my coaches and my fight manager and we all agree that it's time. This is not the sport I want to be rushed through. It never really works out. So I'm patient and I'm ready to do my time and get my experience. And when everybody agrees that that time is there and that is a good choice, then I'll definitely step up. I think that'd be really cool. It'd actually be great, but only when it's time.
Fair enough. Changing gears a little bit, talking a little bit less about fighting. Something that you're really passionate about is foster care and the foster care system. Can you, first of all, explain why you're so passionate about that?
Yeah, it's always been pretty close to my household. We've been fostering two of my cousins. I really don't even know how many years now, but for a very long time. And my family's always been the ones who kind of like, we all step up for each other. But we've also been a family who's gone through a lot together. So at different points, different parts have had to step up. And then once we started fostering my little cousins, I realized how iffy the system is. It really is a broken system. And I know that's kind of a broken record that people say, but it's because it's true. There's a lot of burnout and not a lot of compensation, not a lot of reward that comes instantly. And so I started to realize that, man, like me taking my own personal time to help the people in my family or to help my cousins was doing more good than the system was for them. And so I started looking into nonprofit organizations and started working for them. And then I became a personal behavioral assistant. And right now I'm working kind of on my own. I'm not through any organization right now, working with a couple families that I go in and I use my training and just my personal life experience to help kids regulate and feel safe and all that good. But I don't know, it just came from having very close connections with it.
Yeah, that's good. And for people who may be interested in doing the same thing, people who have a passion or people who want to get involved in the foster care system, how would you suggest getting started? Like, what would you suggest the first step being?
There's usually a lot of ways to help. They're all just very hidden. You think that the system would try to encourage those, but again, it's kind of forgotten about. So I would search up your nonprofits then like your local area. I know in Missouri there's Empowering Parents KC, and then there's Foster Adopt Connect. I've worked with both. Both are great. They provide, usually these nonprofits provide like a closet and a food pantry, and then they've got therapy on deck, and they've got sensory rooms, and kind of just like they try to be a catch-all for everywhere, and they always, 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 always need more hands on deck. There's never enough. So whether it's someone goes in and they help run the stores, where it's the clothing closet or the food pantry, or they help take inventory, or they help respond to emails. There's so many jobs that go so small that the more hands that are there, the easier it goes and the quicker the families can get the help. And if people are wanting to work in home or directly with the kids or directly with the families, those places usually offer some form of training too. That's where I went and got mine, was through Foster Adopt Connect, where I'm trying to think. I was working for the school district with their behavioral kids, and then I got a hold of Foster Adopt Connect, and they started my training through them, and I was able to go work in home and start what I'm doing now.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So switching gears again, you're training at Elise Summit, which is in the Kansas City area. Obviously, Kansas City's known for its barbecue. I spent about 24 hours in Kansas City about a year, 2 years ago. And I tried a couple places, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the best Kansas City barbecue in Kansas City.
It's my stepdad's. It's I am so biased. I have struggled to eat barbecue out because my stepdad got a smoker years ago and has continuously perfected everything to where when I want barbecue, I don't want to go out anymore. I just want his. But KC is more like, it's a saucy barbecue, so it's not really who has. I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but whatever. It's not really who has the best barbecue; it's who has the best sauce. Oh, and I don't know.
No, that's fair. I'm in Alabama, and Alabama has their own kind of barbecue as well, and it's a lot of sauce as well. So I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, it's good. My favorite is when they have multiple sauces. I'm very saucy, and so I like to have like a plate of sauces and then my plate of food, and then I'm set.
Yeah, that's perfect. And yeah, I like just trying a bunch of different ones and seeing which one's the best. So I understand that.
Yeah.
Switching gears, going to Glory MMA and Fitness. What do you think? I'm going to ask just sort of a bunch of non-related questions about it. What do you think makes James Krause such a great coach? Like, what do you see day in and day out that is like, this is why he's great?
Just the way his brain works is insane. The way he never stops thinking about the game itself. I don't think he ever really stops coaching, honestly. Just because we're off the mats doesn't mean someone's not reaching out to him and he's not having to think through and fix a problem. Even if nobody's doing that, and I could bet money that wherever he's walking around, he's shadowboxing or he's thinking about something. He's continuously trying to find holes in the game and trying to figure out how to evolve the game for our team. And the next day, there's 50 new things that we all better be ready to catch up on because he's spent the last 24 hours thinking about it.
So, what do you think is the next big thing in MMA? Since he's sort of thinking about that, what obviously don't want to like get out ahead of it, so you give up the tricks and all of that. But just sort of general thoughts. What do you think is the next big iteration of change in MMA?
Probably being able to blend everything together. He's even preached it quite a bit that there's been a lot of specialists, and we're starting to get to where people are kind of like, oh, okay, I want to be really good at this and really good at that, but I'm going to work on where can I mix them in, where can I hide one within the other, and start to kind of create like a blender effect while you're in the cage.
So besides Alexa Culp, who is somebody on the Glory MMA roster that fans don't necessarily know a lot about now, but they should be keeping an eye out for here in the near future?
Oh my gosh, I need more than one, but
No, you can say as many as you want if
no, you're good.
if you'd like.
You're good. Isaac Dolgarian, I'm training with consistently, and that boy is going to be a problem. He's extremely violent. His brain breaks down the game to a T. He's got an answer for it all. It's scary. He's scary. Like he's definitely going to end some careers and shake up the game as he starts moving through it. And then I don't know. I'll stop there.
Okay, fair enough. So a couple more questions. Well, one more question, and then just one more thing. First of all, I assume that you do not buy products made from Amazon simply because of your first name and all of those Alexa jokes. I'm sure you get
Yes.
plenty of those. Are there any like examples where that just sort of came to play and it was funny or embarrassing or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm gonna make fun of my little brother. Because, well, I don't know. I work with kids, so it's a pretty daily thing. But my favorite is my little brother is about like 3 years old, and my dad got one of the Alexa thermostats on the wall, and they called me because he was crying, like full on meltdown, because they were yelling at the Alexa to turn the heat up, and she responded, and my brother thought I was stuck inside of the wall. And he was dead convinced that I was in the wall, and he was very upset that they put me in the wall. And I had to then go over to the house to show him that I was not stuck in the wall. And it still took him a few more times to be like, okay, I have no idea why you guys are calling that Alexa, but it's not her. It's probably my favorite.
Oh man, and I'm sure there's plenty more like that because I'm sure because Amazon products are just everywhere these days.
We'll be at a restaurant and someone will yell my name, and I just have to. I usually just wait now. So if anybody sees me, you have to say my name twice because I'm not going to respond the first time.
Yeah, that makes sense. Before I let you go, I want to give you the opportunity, to plug all your social media handles, that new Twitter you were talking about. Make sure people follow that, and B, any sponsors or people you want to shout out.
Man, okay. So my Instagram is real simple. It's just Alexa_Culp.MMA. My Twitter is going to be the same thing. The Alexa Culp Twitter that says I'm an NBA kickboxer. Not it. I don't know how people saw that and decided to follow it. You guys just need to think a little bit more. But that's really it. Shout out wise, my boyfriend John O'Brien I don't know. He overwhelmed me with the amount of support that I've been getting, especially in this camp, needing to really focus on my striking. And then he dropped everything and went to Texas with me and was the complete support system. I could not have asked for anything more. He was on top of everything. So a shout out would be to him. And then the rest of my family, who was just constantly checking on me, being crazy supportive of something they don't always agree with. So I really appreciate everybody. But that would be it.